Hello, hi, good evening. We just wait a little while. I'm just going to be here for an hour tonight. I'm Samantha. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so I'm going to be sharing with you some study hacks for the evening. So what is going to happen? Maybe I'll just go do a short introduction about myself. Okay, hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I'm a career coach. But prior to becoming a career coach, actually, I have been teaching for about 10 years. So I work with students from as young as 13 all the way to students who are in colleges, like all the way into like 18, 19. So I've been doing quite a lot of teaching for 10 years before I jump into working with adults in terms of career planning, career coaching. So I think this topic is something that has been pretty close to heart because of what I used to do. So I thought it was very nice of TikTok to come up with this, especially during this exam period. So tonight I'm going to share 5 tips. All right, so you can stay with me throughout this an hour. I'm going to share with you 5 tips that you can start to implement while you are studying. And this is really not just restricted to students, you see, it's also for adults because right now we are also working. Yeah, many of us are working, and then at the same time are also doing like part-time course, part-time studying. So I think there must be some way of managing it, isn't it? Right? So I'm going to share with you a little bit about how I do it, and of course how some of the people that I've worked with, I've coached with, how they manage their study and work, or just pure studying, like major exams coming. Alright, so I know that when I was preparing for this, some of you did leave some comments like, for O levels, most of y'all have finished bulk of it, you are left with MCQs, right? And I believe A levels is about to start, and I think even uni students, you are going to start your exam very soon in late November all the way to December. Alright, so yes, so at least what I think we can do is we can keep this conversation open. If you have any question, you can just type in the comment box. Alright, I would love to answer anything that you all have that you all are wanting to find out about studying and things like that. It's very interesting because I have always been doing things that people don't really like. You talk about studies, nobody really like to study for exam. I mean, sometimes we enjoy studying, but we just don't enjoy studying for exams. I'm not sure about you, but I totally hate studying for exams. Okay, so yeah, A-level student. Oh, okay, so what's our subject combination? Yeah, P6. Oh, P6. PSLE is over, right? Is it over? Let me know if it's over. Okay, so yeah, so what subject combi are you doing? Okay, so what I used to teach, I am very good with math and physics. I'm engineer trained, by the way. So I graduated with engineering degree. So yeah, I have an engineering background. So I teach math and I teach physics. Today's context is really not so much of subject focus. I'm not here to teach you math and physics, but rather I'm teaching you the thought process, the framework when it comes to managing exams, right? So it's very nice that you are tuning in 1 hour. I hope this 1 hour makes a very good break away from your studies. Alright, so okay. Any tips for studying general paper? Now, when it comes to general paper, number one, I have to tell you that my language is not my best foot. That means I can speak, I'm talking now, right? But when you really want to write well, you cannot avoid reading. Okay, you probably really have to read a lot. And when it comes to general paper, you really have to have your own opinion, your own stand. Okay, so there is no quick tips to studying general paper, but of course there are a few topics that you can think about, because general paper, from what I remember, there is about 10 to 12 topics. Okay, and then each there is various themes to it. So you could really, if you really want to study smart, rather than studying everything, right, you could actually focus on a few things like maybe politics, education, technology, maybe just a few vertical to be well versed in it. Alright, and I think A-level hasn't started, so this is a good time to start reading. And besides reading, okay, so one tip that y'all can really do if let's say you want to be learning things quickly, effectively, is making use of your time. So for example, you say, how do you study for general paper? Like I say, general paper, you need to know what is happening in the current affairs, for example. Alright, so instead listening to your Spotify on your music, maybe you want to tune in to certain podcasts, at least for the exam period. Okay, after exam, you want to listen to whatever you want, just go ahead. Your H1 GP on Monday. Today is okay. Okay, all right. This gentleman, this young boy, a bit last minute. Okay, then go into verticals. Okay, maybe you just want to focus on a few verticals. All right, which one do you like most? There are a few verticals, right? Which one do you like most? All right, so how do you memorize content better? Okay, one thing that I really dislike, I can't speak for everyone, but I think when it comes to memorizing, is really, it takes a toll. So what I always recommend, when I teach H1, H2 physics and math last time, instead of memorizing things, I think one thing very good is you need to have a concept map. So today I'm going to share with you number one tip. Okay, if you read, maybe your exams is halfway through, maybe you are going to have upcoming exams. If you are still a student, you will have a few more exams coming. Okay, this tip is very useful for all my students that I used to coach. All right, every topic come up with a concept map. Okay, so what you should have in your concept map, right, is number one, the definition of certain terms. Okay, number two, you need to have formulas. Okay, the formula related to the topic. And number three, okay, the third thing that a lot of people don't put in their concept map. So what people do when they write concept map, right, they take out their textbook and then they just rewrite everything that is in their textbook and their notes onto another piece of paper. That is just copying lah, seriously. Okay, it doesn't, yes, while you're writing, you remember things, but the thing is, it doesn't stay. If you want to make the concept map good for you so that you can revise, okay, what you can do is, besides the key concept, the key formulas, what you need to have is commonly asked question. Hello, Uncle Sheets. Okay, you need to have commonly asked questions. So when you are doing your 10-year series, for example, right, sounds so long ago, 10-year series, to me it's 20 years ago. All right, your 10-year series, okay, so when you're doing 10-year series or practice paper, other schools exam paper, prelim papers, look at some of the questions that keep popping up. Okay, so some topics, some questions within the topic are commonly asked questions. You can have that in your concept map so that when you are revising, you know that these are the questions that come out frequently. Alright, so you need to do that mapping yourself. So concept map, if you want to do it well, it is not about copying notes from a note to another note, create your own notes. It's not that. It's really being able to decipher what are the commonly asked questions so that you can put it in your real map. And then when you're revising, so every topic has a map, like integration has a map, differentiation has a map, what other topics do you have? Algebra, there's a map for it. Okay, so you should totally trigonometry. Some people hate trigo, right? Okay, so I am a very math and science person, so you realize that I talk a lot about math and science. Likewise for science, physics, you have topics, mechanics, you have quantum physics, you have nuclear physics, etc. Every major topic, you have a concept map for it and frequently asked question. So that is really tip number one. If let's say you want to make your concept map really useful, really efficient. Okay, so don't just copy for the sake of copying. I know how for ladies, right, for girls, right, when they study, they like to have very colorful notes, post-it and highlights and everything. Okay, so everybody learns differently, correct? So you don't have to do that if let's say you feel that writing doesn't work for you. So if writing helps you to remember better, then yes, you need to write. But the thing is, if you have a lot to write, you need to pace yourself. You cannot, your exam in 1 week and then you start cramming everything now. It's going to be, you will end up not remembering much for some people. Okay, and some of us may end up having a panic attack. You write so much before exams and then when you go into exam hall, you just blank out. Okay, so I just mentioned burning the midnight oil a few days before exam. I have to tell you, there is no right and no wrong because everybody study differently. Some people study very well. Some people can do that and they don't have anxiety issue. The minute you say they are able to, whatever they memorize for a few nights, right, they are able to, do that when they are stepped into the exam hall. But some people can't. The moment they do not have enough rest, they kanchong, they nervous, right? They go inside exam, they just totally blank out. So you need to know your studying type. Okay, you need to know your style. Are you the kind of person that can work under that kind of exam stress. Some students that I work with, they perform very well on a day-to-day exam, like tests, but when you ask them to go into major exam, they just freak out. So if you know you're someone who will tend to freak out, then my suggestion is maybe burning midnight oil might not be the best studying method for you. Okay, so you need to know what works for you. Okay, so don't just do what everybody else is doing. It is quite silly. Then that is not called studying smart. Alright, so I hope I answer your question. Okay, that's what I think about burning the midnight oil. Usually it is not recommended. usually. So it really depends on your studying methodology, how you function the best. I look at the Singapore singer, thank you, but I don't think I can sing very well. I can sing, but nice or not is very subjective. So, but today I'm not here to sing, okay? Alright, so the first thing that I mentioned just now is to really have your concept map ready, right? Every topic have your concept map, and on your concept map, you need to have the main concepts, you need to have your main formulas that is happening out from that topic, and you need to have commonly asked questions. Alright, so for those who are streaming in, hello, I'm Samantha, I'm based in Singapore. So I'm actually a career coach by day, okay, and prior to becoming a career coach, when I was a student and in the earlier part of my career, I run academic centers. So I actually teach students from as young as 13 all the way to 20 years old. So I specialize in science and math, particularly physics and math. So from OA level, so OA level, yeah, O levels and A levels, yeah. So that's basically what I teach. And I came from engineering background, so that's the reason why I'm probably a little bit more, inclined towards math and physics. So yeah, good luck to everyone having your exams, really. Yeah, so I really wish all of y'all do, get whatever that y'all want from it. But I also need to just, a conscious reminder is that do your very, very best, which I know you guys will, and embrace the outcome, because really at the end of the day, studying is really to expand your mind, let you understand certain concepts, certain knowledge. Do you really implement and use everything that you have studied in your actual work? Very minimum, yeah. And in fact, at every level of your education, the things that you learn changes along the way. So let's say the math that you learn in secondary school will be different from the math that you learn in colleges, will be very different from university. Alright, so it is, so embrace the outcome. I know you guys will do very well, will do your very best, okay, but at the end of the day, embrace the outcome, because it's not the end of the world, okay? It's not the end of the world, just really it's not the end of the world, okay? I went through the very traditional education path in Singapore. So from, you have your PSLE, right? And then you have your, when we were in secondary school, we have 2 streamings. Set 2, we have a streaming, and then Set 4, you have your O levels, alright? Yeah, then after that, I went through A levels as well. Then I went through university. So I went through a very traditional path in Singapore. So even in primary school, we have streamings as well. There is the EM1, EM2, and EM3. So for those who know what I'm talking about, we are pretty much in the same era. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, you can know that we are not of the same era. But yes, education in Singapore, it is what it is. Okay, it's not the best, but it's not the worst as well. Alright, so I travel around the region quite often. Pre-COVID, because of my work, I do a lot of training. Alright, so I wouldn't say that Singapore has the best, but I wouldn't say Singapore is the worst as well. There are still countries, duplicating our system, so there must be, something right about it. Okay, so yes, I welcome questions. If you all have any questions that you all like to ask me about studying hacks, studying tips, please drop them in and we can open for discussion, really. Alright, so yes. Okay, so while waiting, okay, I'm just gonna be here for an hour because I'm not gonna distract you from your studying. You're supposed to go back to study, right? So today is a Saturday. I'm sure I hope it's well spent for all of you. Okay, so yeah, sometimes studying too hard. Okay, so while you're studying, don't forget to drink water. Okay, hydrate yourself is important. Cheers. You guys, I keep talking. It feels like I feel like I'm DJing, something like that. Yeah, but I'm not so used to talking to myself, and right now I'm like staring at myself and I'm talking, and then I'm reading your text. So yeah, y'all really please, interact with me. Okay, and if you feel really you need a break from study, so it's very funny because everybody's just studying very differently, right? And then if you just like Google, fire up your Google and say like studying hacks and studying tips, people will say like, oh, it gives you very standardized answer, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. To me, I'm not someone who subscribe very much to that kind of stuff, because I think, as I keep saying this, right, everybody's studying differently, so you need to know what is the most effective for you. But of course, what they say is that when you're studying and you're too bored, okay, eat something, have some snacks. It helps to refocus yourself, right? So I share one tip already, right? Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is second tip. Okay, when you really want to study well and study like effectively, is you need to know what is your productive hours. Very, 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 very important. Don't study for the sake of like, oh, I sit there, because I supposed to study at that time, so I must study at that time. Again, I don't believe in that kind of thing. So you really need to know what is your productive hours. So what do I mean by productive hours? Okay, it goes something like, okay, if let's say you function, you're a morning person, your brain is the clearest, you can like devise solutions, and like you can solve some rocket science questions, right? That is the best time to, if that is your best time, then you maybe want to dedicate that time to do something that is more related to subjects whereby you really need to solve with formulas. For example, again, math, science, physics, chemistry. Okay, so if you need to like solve, calculate, and you know that your mind is the brightest, clearest, you can think the best, right? You have to do that. Okay, so you need to know your productive time. If let's say you tend to like to read a lot in the afternoon, for example, okay, then maybe that's where you can start to read GP related stuff, English related, language related stuff. You can start reading about bio, because bio has a lot more things to read, right? Okay, so, and then if let's say you are not a night person, then please don't burn midnight oil. Don't just keep cramming everything you have to cram just because you have to do it. Okay, so know your productive hours. That's tip number 2. Really know your productive hours. Like for myself, when I was studying, okay, I wouldn't say that I'm a very good student, just to let you all know I'm not a very good student, but I do study. Because I'm not a good student and I'm not a smart student, I need to make it up for not being so smart, right? So I need to spend a little bit more time. So I'm not the best student. Precisely, I'm not the best student. I can actually teach students very well because I know the struggle. So just to let y'all know, I told y'all I run academic centers, right? Okay, so I used to teach a lot of students, and I am able to transform their results within 3 months. Okay, at least a 2 grade jump. So you can be getting an F9, and then maybe within 3 months with me, you will pass your paper. Just 3 months. Okay, so I have strategies that I work with my students, and I think when it comes to studying, it's also about strategy. Okay, it's really about strategy. It's not just like pure mugging. And I went through difficult times, you see, because I'm really not a smart and hardworking student. So yeah. Alright, so know your productive hours. Very important. Okay, so that's tip number 2. You need to know when you function the best. If you do not know, please think about it. Okay, because it's going to help you when you're studying. Don't just waste your time sitting in front of your notes. It's so boring, right? Oh my god. Okay, you ask me to study like the way you are studying right now, I think I will also struggle a little bit. But I'm studying right now. I'm actually going through this program called it's called Trends and Foresight Academy. So I am still also studying right now, but it's a different kind of study. So it's like an adult kind of studying. All right. Okay, so that is tip number 2. Okay, anybody has any question? Oh, thank you for sending me likes. So sweet. Okay. Alright, so yeah, it's okay. As I say, like this is like my first live ever, and I feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, I am literally talking to myself. What am I talking about? Okay, so first again, hi Farida. You are such a beautiful lady. She's like so cool. You guys should totally follow her. She actually she has so many hacks for beauty stuff. Not only must we study hard, we must also look good, right? So she has so many beauty hacks. You guys should totally follow her. And yeah, check her out on TikTok, and she has helped me quite a fair bit as well. Heyo, thank you. Alright, so tip number 1 for those who missed it is come up with your concept map. Okay, and in your concept map, you need to have the main concept, like Number 2, formulas that is related to that particular topic. And number 3, which most people miss, is you need to have commonly asked question of that topic. Okay, don't just copy from notes to notes, because that is, you're not a photocopier. Okay, if you are a photocopier, then no, it's not going to help you in your exam. Okay, you have to be more strategic, right? So the last part is important. After you do your 10-year series, okay, after you do like practice paper, assessment papers, okay, you will be able to figure out what are some of the commonly asked questions. Okay, bring that over. And if you feel that you need assistance, right, get the help from your teacher or your tutor, because they will have seen so many questions before. All right, so they will know, okay, this question usually will come up like that, or come out in this format. Go and ask them. All right. Hello, hi, Vera Smart 01. Okay, hi Smarty. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is understand your productive hours. Okay, if you are clearest in the morning, okay, then do things that requires you to create solution, like math, like physics, like chemistry. If you are good at reading in the morning, then do your reading in the morning. If you are best reading at night, then do your reading at night. Okay, so work with your productive hours. All right, now I'm going to share with you tip number 3. All right, so just like I mentioned that you need to know your productive hours so that you can study the best, okay, according to, how you absorb knowledge the best. Now tip number 3 is, after you have studied, right, I'm sure all of us will practice, correct? You will practice papers, assessments, and what's not. You practice your exam paper, like, assessment paper, 10-year series, based on your exam schedule. Very important. Okay, I'm from Singapore. Hi. Yes, I'm from Singapore. At night I just want to sleep. Yes, then go and sleep. And then of course some of my students were like, Sam, can I do diffusion? I put the textbook under my pillow, on top of my head, osmosis and everything. Okay, thank you for the love, Lawrence. Okay, you what talking? I don't understand. Am I talking too fast? Okay, so yes, you practice your paper based on your exam schedule. Let me give you an example. If your math paper is in the morning, which is usually in the morning, if times haven't changed, math paper is usually in the morning, then what you need to do is, when you're practicing your assessment, when you're doing your mock paper, right, make sure you do math in the morning. Don't do math at night. Come on. All right, you need to train your brain to think math in the morning, then do that. Okay, so this is something that I always do with my students back then. Okay, if let's say the English paper is in the afternoon, make sure you do English in the afternoon. That means to say, if you need to write essay, GP, okay, then do it in the afternoon. Social studies, geography, usually in the afternoon, right? Do that in the afternoon. Okay, you need to train your brain to think essay in the afternoon. Because what most people may tend to do is that maybe they write at night. But the thing is, afternoon is the time that you actually are doing your exam papers, right? So you need to train yourself to that. I'm talking very fast. Okay. Are you in Singapore? Vera Smart 01, are you a student? Are you a student? Let me know if you are a student, you can type it in. Right? Okay, so tip number 3 is do your assessment, do your practice paper based on your exam schedule. Okay, based on your exam schedule. So you should have your exam schedule. Okay, if you don't have your exam schedule, that is no. Okay, if you don't have your exam schedule, how are you going to study, right? How are you going to plan your time? Okay, so do your assessment based on exam schedule. So that is usually what I do with my students also back then. Okay, so I taught about 10 years, just to let y'all know. When I ran my education center for 6 years, okay, I work with students in A-levels and O-levels. In fact, I usually deal with people in the critical year. So I call critical year like O-level and A-level. But of course, if let's say there's recently the IP program, integrated program, then yes, they skip the O-level altogether and then they just go to A-levels. All right, so practice your exam based on your do your assessment, do your practices based on your exam schedule. All right, so that's very important. Okay, so you are no student, you are working in Singapore, you are a degree holder. Fantastic. Awesome. Do you have any tips for our audience here? Feel free to type it in. How do you study the best? Right? I mean, everybody can share, you know, y'all don't have to just listen to me, because when you type in and what's not, okay, everybody, I think everybody can see, right? Yeah, I'm quite sure everybody can see. Yeah, share. Okay, I think sessions like this are awesome because you really get to hear from each other. Okay, you get to hear from me and you get to read from each other. All right, okay, so that's what I'll encourage you to do. Okay, if you have any tips, share it. You know, like what do you do when you were studying for exam or what works best for you? I think that would be so interesting. I would love to hear from you, all of you. Yeah, as I say, I'm not a like a super smart student. I'm not a scholar, so I also, you know, work through my way through the education. All right, but do your best, embrace the outcome. That's what I have said just now, right? For those who have missed it, do your best for your exams, which I know all of you will, okay? And embrace the outcome. That is not the end of the world, just to let you know. And that is also not the end of the journey. Very important. It's not the end of the journey. The moment you step out of school, that is also another beginning, okay? Hello, Priscilla. Priscilla, right? Yeah, okay. So yes, I shared 3 tips with you guys already. All right. My notes is here. I got prepare one just to let y'all know. Okay. And as I said, when you're studying halfway, you can eat. I like promoting some food, right? But no, this is a fruit. It's not a food, okay? Fruits are good, okay? So, since we are talking about study hacks, right? Okay, people talk about drinking the chicken essence and stuff like that. Okay, so I don't drink chicken related stuff, okay? So, what you can do is don't drink coffee in the late afternoon, please, because you will end up not being able to sleep at night, and that is so bad. I remember during one of my module back in uni, oh my god, you know Ya-Kun coffee? Okay, I'm not a coffee drinker, but that day I was just feeling so tired. I decided to get a cup of coffee at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The next day, I couldn't think at all when I was in the exam hall. It was so bad. Okay, so you also, little habits like this, please be mindful, yeah? If you are someone who don't drink coffee so late in the day and then you can't sleep at night and then next day you have to go to exam. That is so bad. Okay, so please don't. But of course, some people, like, they drink coffee, like drink water like that. It's like they are totally immune to caffeine. That's fine too, but I hope it doesn't like make you run to the toilet. Okay, so yes, that's really important. They say eating more blueberries helps you with your eyesight. Okay, so if let's say you have been yeah. Oh, this is a good question. How do you improve time management in exam? Do you mean while you are doing the paper itself? I assume that, okay, if correct me if I'm wrong, all right? How do you improve your time management during exam? First, when you are doing your practice paper, when you are doing your mock paper, do you actually time yourself? If you never time yourself, then my suggestion is time yourself. And just to share with you how I work with my students back then is, if let's say the paper is 2 hours, I only give them 1.5 hours. Okay, because anything can happen during exam. Okay, so you have to be prepared for unforeseen circumstance. All right, so I always give them a shorter time. If it's a 2-hour paper, it will be 1.5 hours. If it's sometimes depending on the difficulty of the paper that I give them, sometimes 2 hours, maybe I'll give them 1 hour 45 minutes. So if you want to train your time management, if you want to train your speed, right, number 1 is practice actually is important. Okay, now if let's say so that's one aspect, okay, practice is important. Number 2, during the actual exam itself, there will be questions that you know how to do. Okay, there will be questions that you do not know how to do, right? Now if let's say there are questions that you do not know how to do, move on first. Okay, so when you're approaching questions, right, so this is tip number 4. Okay, so to answer I do not know how to pronounce your name, but I know you are the A-level student and you have GP on Monday. Okay, all the nicknames here so interesting. Okay, so tip number 4, when you are approaching a question, number 1, you narrow down. Number 1, think of the topic. So when you read a particular question, right, you need to know which topic is this from. Okay, so if let's say you are approaching a math question, and then that question come out, and you need to know which topic it falls. Is it, let's say it falls under trigo. Okay, trigo comes out. Okay, so you must think trigo already. And then whatever about the topic, right, the main concept, the main formula must come out already. Okay, so if you want to be better, like a lot faster, right, some of my students, what I teach them is, when you see that topic, when you read the question, just use your pencil and write down the topic, trigo, integration, differentiation, whatsoever, and write down the main formulas that is important for the question. And then attack the question with all these weapons. Okay, all right, now if you feel that after writing down, after decoding the question already, you know the topic, you know the formula, you know the concept, and you still need some time to think about how to do it, and maybe a minute or two cannot think already, right, still don't get it, right, move on first. Okay, move on first, and then come back later. Always give yourself buffer. So when we are doing exam time management, right, they always do a division. Let's say it's a 40 question MCQ. 40 question MCQ for A levels, I think it's 1 hour 15 minutes, if I remember correctly, 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay, so you have to divide. So maybe per question is less than, per question is, let me do some math now. Okay, so if let's say 1 hour 15 minutes is 75 minutes divided by 40. So one question, you can only spend 1.8 minutes. Anything more than that, you have to move on. But do you need to put a stopwatch next to you? You don't have to. So it's a rough gauge. So if you read the question, you think of the concept, you think of the formula, you do not know how to apply. After 30 seconds, move on. But of course, circle the question first, because you need to know, you need to come back. Okay, so one thing about MCQ, especially higher levels you go, so A-level MCQ compared to O-level MCQ, A-level is definitely tougher. And sometimes the multiple choice, right, the 4 multiple choice, right, looks so similar, right? So irritating. Okay, so you may not have a lot of time to like think. So move on first. What you want is to cover as many questions as possible. Okay, so it will be a pity if you stay on a question for too long and then you miss out the rest of the question, because sometimes there are easier questions behind. Okay, so is there a format to exam papers? There isn't a hardcore format like easier questions or more difficult question first. There isn't. So that means to say, when you are doing it, when you know, every time we receive the exam paper, what happens is that we will, sometimes I hear sound. Okay, when you receive your exam paper, the examiner, the invigilator, this word, invigilator, they will ask you to check, right? Check number of pages. Okay, so this is where I'll ask my student, check slowly lah. What's the rush, right? Seriously, why you need to flip so fast? Check one page by one page. Start reading the question. Glance through the question. Okay, page like make sure you have all the questions. Make sure you have all the pages. But at the same time, glance through the question. Skim through the question so that you have an understanding of what is in the paper. Are there difficult questions? Are there easy questions? Which topic you are really good at? You are very confident. Okay, so you know roughly, so that it will help you. Okay, so when you are doing that paper, right, you will realize that, okay, I still have other questions at the back that I need to tackle. So I cannot, spend too much time on this. If I don't get it, I have to move on. All right, so always attempt all questions. This is something that I tell all my students. Never leave a question blank. Never. Okay, even if it's just writing down the formula, plug in some numbers, right, you got to do it. Never leave an answer empty. Always answer all questions. All right, so that is something that I want to share about. Tip number 4 is also in relation to the question earlier on. How do you improve your time management? Practice is important. Okay, you have to practice in a shorter time. So I always give shorter time. If it's a 2-hour paper, maybe do it within 1.5 to 1 hour 45 minutes, and that's it. Okay, very strict. Okay, so you have to time yourself, and actually during actual paper itself, move on. Okay, if you cannot answer this question, move on. Okay, and when you are checking your exam paper, when they ask you to make sure you have the correct number of pages, make sure you have the correct number of questions, something like that, take your time to check. there is no rush, okay? Read the question. They will be, they can't do anything, right? All right, they can't. I hope there's no teachers tuning in. But if there are teachers tuning in, I will also love to hear from you. You can type it in. Maybe you will even agree with me some things, right? If you have to check a paper, then check. All right. Okay, so very important. Take your time to read the exam paper when they ask you to check the number of pages. There is simply no rush. Okay. All right. So I have shared 4 tips. Okay, so just welcoming everyone who are streaming in. Okay. This is live. I'm Samantha. I'm based in Singapore. By my current work, I'm a career coach and I run my own business. Okay. Previously, before I become a career coach, I was also a trainer, and before that, I'm actually a academic coach. So I've been teaching students for about 10 years. I run my own academic center, and back then I teach students from 13 to 20 years old, but majority of them falls in critical year, so that means O-level and A-level. I work with students, so I teach mainly math and science, O-level math, additional math, A-level math, H1, H2 math. Okay, so that's what I teach. And I also teach physics, O-level physics, H1, H2 physics. So that's what I'm good at. I'm engineer trained, so quite natural, right, that I taught those topics. Okay, so I work with students. So when I work with students, it is really not so much about whether you are a very, very smart person or you are not so smart. Okay, it is not measured by your IQ, but it is really being very strategic when you are studying. Okay, so I have worked with students who came to me when they are, F9 or failing, but within 3 months when they are with me, okay, they are able to do well and they are able to see a pass or at least a 2 grade jump. Not because I am super good, but because they actually apply what I taught them. Okay, so some of the tips that I've been sharing while, since the start, 9 o'clock, yeah. Number 1 is you need to know your productive hours. Okay, so during the studying part, you need to study according to your productive hours. If you are good in reading heavy material at night, then do your reading at night. If you are good at solving math and science question in the day, then do that in the day. Okay, so you have to study based on your productive hours. That's 1. Number 2, you have to do your practice. That means after you study already, you need to practice, right? 10-year series, mock papers, whatever, you need to practice, right? You practice your paper based on your exam schedule, timing. If math is in the morning, you do math paper in the morning. You do it at 8 o'clock because usually exam starts at 8. It shouldn't change that much. I think it still starts at 8. If your social studies exam starts at 2 p.m., then make sure you write essay at 2 p.m. Okay? Don't food coma and go and sleep, I tell you. Okay, so make sure you do that. Okay, so studying based on your productive hours, doing your exam, doing your practice paper based on your exam schedule timing. Alright, so there's 2 tips already. Yeah? Tip number 3, when you are doing your concept map. Okay, so there's so many things that we have to remember. So rather than memorizing every single thing, which I don't think I can, and I totally don't do any memorizing. I have super selective memory right now. Okay, so while you're doing your concept map, every topic you have a map on its own. So you should have your main definition, concept of that particular topic, the main formulas involved, if any. And number 3 is commonly asked question or commonly appeared questions for that topic. You can have it in your map as well. Tip number 3 already. So tip number 4 is when you are approaching your question. Okay, every question that you read, the first thing that you think of is what topic is it from. After asking yourself what topic is it from, what are the concepts about that topic that you have to know, the objective of that topic. Your 10-year series, right, if you look, the first few pages of your 10-year series is quite redundant, right? But actually I use that because every topic there will be objectives that you need to achieve. So your exams is based on those objective ones, seriously. Okay, make sure you tick all the objective of that particular topic and then you move on. Because sometimes in school when you learn, your teachers may teach something more, okay, additional stuff. And then if you happen not to pay attention in class and then you do last minute study, you realize that how come there are so many things to study. Okay, so studying wisely, right, is also about knowing what to study. So if you want to know what to study, go back to the lesson objective, because your exam questions are based on the lesson objective. They are not allowed to give you question that is out of the topic. Okay, all right, so that is that. Think of the topic, think of the concept, think of the formula. Okay, and when you are managing your time during exam itself, okay, first, when you are doing practice paper, make sure that I pause for a while because I'm thinking what did I say just now? Okay, make sure that when you're practicing, the time that you give yourself is slightly shorter. Okay, that means to say if it's a 2-hour paper, give yourself maybe 1.5 hours so that you can work under time. Okay, so that's important. All right, and if there are questions that you do not know how to do during exam, move on first. Okay, you need to make sure that you cover all questions. Never leave any question empty. Got it? Attempt all question. Okay, I always feel that it's such a pity if you don't answer all the questions, because there might be easier questions at the back of the paper, and then if you never attempt them, it's like wasted marks. Okay, so attempt off questions. So make sure that when the teacher, the invigilator asks you to check the paper, check your number of pages, make sure that you take your time and check. There is no rush, right? So make sure while you are checking the paper, you are skimming through the questions. All right, so at least you know what are the questions to that preempt yourself. Okay, so that is in terms of my 4 tips that I have shared so far. Am I talking too fast? Because if I'm talking too fast, you can let me know. And but yeah, I think some of you asked very good question, like improving time management. Don't do midnight studying. Okay, is midnight studying, burning the midnight oil suitable for everyone? I wouldn't say it's wrong, neither would I say it's correct, but it really depends on your studying method. Alright, so if let's say you are someone who tend to burn midnight oil, right, I will assume that there is a tendency that you wake up later. Okay, so if you have a tendency to wake up later, then you need to think, do you have papers in the morning? If you have papers in the morning, then it may not be the wisest choice. Alright, so you need to work best to your schedule. Okay, so do your best not to sleep too late. Okay, so when you are young, you can sleep very late. That's totally okay. I have sleep 2-3 a.m. and wake up 7 a.m. and I still function at 100% battery. But now you ask me to sleep at 2-3 a.m. and wake up at 7, I tell you I will need a nap in the middle of the day, which is a sign of aging. Okay, so but of course, I mean, it's not very relevant, right? So anyway, yes, that's that. So hi, welcome everyone. I'm Samantha. I'm from Singapore. So today's topic is really it's a topic that I haven't been talking for a long time because I haven't been teaching, and all my students have basically graduated. So can you imagine when I taught them, they were 15 or 17 years old, and right now they are 25, 26, and then a few of my students actually got married. Oh my god. So I was wow, I literally watched them grow up. So yes, it has been some time since I have last taught. Okay, but all these things are things that I am very familiar with because I really do it for back then was pretty aggressive, the way that I work with my students. Why is it aggressive? Because we actually get results. When students can come to me with a failing grade, and then within 3 months they actually get at least a 2 grade jump, or if not a pass, from fail to pass within 3 months. Okay, so I'm quite proud of myself in that sense that we are able to transform results. But the intensity is no joke huh? But there is also definitely strategy. So whatever that I'm sharing with you tonight is all about strategy. Very strategy focused. It's really not so much about studying very, very hard. Okay, studying hard is important, but I think studying smart, having the right strategy is also pretty important. Alright, so yeah, that's that. So at least you know who you are listening to. I'm not someone who just come out and say, hey, yo, this is how you're gonna study. Nah. Okay, so I'm not that. I actually decided to do a live for this is because I have been through it. I have taught people how to do it. So I thought, okay, why not use this time to share, right? So hello, hi everyone. Hi, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Okay, so some of you could be in Singapore, some probably are not in Singapore. So I hope everyone is still staying well and safe during this very trying times of pandemic. Okay, make sure that you stay healthy. I think it's important. So studying hacks, right? If let's say your body is not in the tip-top condition, there's no way you're going to study. It's really very hard for you to study, really. Okay, so make sure you take care of yourself. I think that's very important. And of course now with the recent thing, like with technology and everything, people understand about mental wellness and things like that. So yeah. Is it true that, what is WTV questions? Most topics that come up last year is unlike, oh. Okay, this is a question that everybody asks. Oh my god. Okay, so times haven't changed that much. Questions that come out last year is highly unlikely to come up this year. Is that how you spell whatever now? Oh my god, I have a generation gap here. I'm so sorry, but thanks for educating me. Appreciate it. Okay, is it always that case? I think it's a myth. Just telling you, it's a myth. Okay, questions that come out last year doesn't mean that it won't come out this year. Of course, if you're talking about similar question, exactly the same, then yeah, it will not come out. Okay, so if it come out last year, then it won't come out the exact same way. It is very unlikely it will come out the exact same way. Okay, yeah, but the concept to it is similar. They just need to tweak the question. Okay, so if you refer to your 10-year series, your 10-year series, the first 20 page, is it 20? Maybe first 10 pages, you may think that it's useless, but actually it's not totally useless. Okay, every topic, right, there will be a objective to meet. Make sure that when you're doing your revision, you are able to check all those objectives off. Okay, so if let's say this topic requires you to have understanding of this formula, have understanding of this concept, know how to apply this, make sure you know. Tick all those, because the thing is they cannot ask you question that is out of these objectives. Okay, so that is just for you all to know. Hello Ashley. Hi Uncle Shit. I think there will be some topics that come out every year, but others are less regular, definitely. Because as I said, there are certain things that you have to be tested. They have to test you. That's why I refer to the objective. I follow very closely to the objective, especially working with students who are super last minute. Because I do take in students who just come to me 2 months before their exam. That's not fun. Of course, I don't encourage anyone to do that. Don't do that kind of thing. Don't put yourself through that kind of intensity. Alright, but for people who are really last minute, right, follow closely to the lesson objective. 10-year series is a very good guide. Okay, in terms of the objective, they cannot ask you anything out of it, but everything inside they can always ask you. Alright, so yes, I think Uncle Shit actually nailed it. There will be topics whereby it will come out every year, but in different format. Okay, but there are some questions are less likely, and then you have that 1 or 2 question that they just want to separate and have a distinction between students. I don't think it's anything new. All of us are graded on the bell curve. Oh my god, I just said that and then Uncle Shit type it up. Yes, there will be 1 or 2 questions in every paper to distinct the students. To distinct all of us lah, basically. Okay, I went through that myself. I was also graded on the bell curve. Okay, from day one that you are born, you are already graded on the bell curve all the way. Even if you are working right now, man, you are also on the bell curve. Okay, there's a cap to your to your promotion also. There's a path. Alright, so everyone is based on kind of like a bell curve. So there will be that 1 or 2 questions to distinct people. Do you need to be very upset with those questions? The truth is, do very well for all the other questions. If there's 1 or 2 questions that you cannot do, alright, that you cannot do well, it's just like what, 5 marks, give it to them lah, it's fine lah. You can still get your A. Just give them 5 marks or whatever, take it like WTV or whatever. Okay, give them. Okay, but you go and get the rest of the 90 marks. That's what I tell some of my students as well. If there are questions that you have to give up because you do not know how to do, right, give it up and tackle the rest of the question. Okay, it's not about I have to get every single mark. It's about also scoring marks. Is also you need to be very smart about scoring marks. There are some questions that you can't do, forget it, move on. Make sure you can do other questions. Okay, yeah, so anxiety, huh? So if you are someone who have anxiety, you tend to be very, very nervous, then my suggestion is you really need to be very strategic in the way that you remember things. Okay, yeah, so concept maps will really help you. Hello. Actually, who is Narod? You know me by my Chinese name. Oh, feels so close to my heart. And anyone who calls me by my Chinese name, I always feel like there's that sense of closeness. Okay, so everybody who knows me from birth all the way to my school time knows me by my Chinese name. My Chinese name is Ziqi, Z-I-Q-I. Alright, so you can see from my all my social media handle, there is a ZQ, like ZQ, yeah, that's my Chinese name. You know me from MPCC. Okay. Oh, now you are revealing I'm from MPCC too. Hi. But yeah, nickname so I actually don't know who you are. Can you type in your name? Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Then everybody who knows me after I graduate calls me by Sam, Samantha, Sam for short. All right. So yeah. So yeah. Back to the topic of anxiety. Okay. If you are someone who tends to be a bit more anxious, you tend to like blank out during exam, okay, concept maps will help you, like the concept maps that I shared earlier. So when you are reading every question, so take a pencil. When you come to certain questions that seems to be a little bit tougher, right, read the question, the formulas, okay, especially for those who don't like science and don't like math, right? Darren, oh my goodness. Hello. 好久不见. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. So you're on TikTok. Okay. I'm so sorry. I broke off what I wanted to say. Yes, take a pencil. Okay, for each topic, for the question, when you read the question, there will be a topic on. Okay, so how question work in exam is this? Every question is usually one topic or a mixture of two topics. Okay, so this question could be a combination of two topics, for example. So the moment you read the question, you must think of the topics that comes with it. Write down the formula first. Okay, before you get all nervous, you cannot do this question, right? For GGU, don't know how to pronounce actually. GGU, right? Okay, yeah, this is what you can do. Read the question, write down the formula related to that topic. At least you don't panic. Sometimes it helps for some people. The moment you see the formula and you read the question a few more times, right, you're able to draw some sense from it. You're able to draw some sense in the sense that, hey, yeah, this formula and this formula combined can solve this question. Yeah. So it's very visual. You get to have a visual look. So asking you to write down the formulas, for example, is actually to give yourself a visual cue. Alright, rather than thinking about it, when you are in exam, you do not have a lot of time to think. That's the unfortunate part. Okay, what we are trained to do is, education system in Singapore is trained in the sense that when you look at the question, you're supposed to know how to answer it, like almost immediately. Okay, so you are not given the luxury of time to think. In that sense, alright, cannot sit down there and think, you can't. Alright, so whatever that I suggest, right, write down the formulas, for example, or the main concept, okay, is to allow you to help yourself, to give yourself that visual cue. Okay, so when you look at it, you're like, okay, maybe you can connect certain concept. And the thing about this is, right, so one thing about math and science exams is that sometimes if just by writing formulas and you plug in certain numbers, for some reason, sometimes you can very lucky, very tycho, oh, that's the word. Okay, do I still use this term? Okay, during my time we use tycho. Okay, very lucky, you can be very lucky that, oh, maybe by writing that formula or even like the formula with the input values, right, you can get a mark or half a mark, because you need to understand the marking scheme. Okay, so I'm covering a lot of stuff, so if you pay attention to what I say, right, you will really get some tips from here. Okay, you need to know the marking scheme. So especially for science and for math, it's very easy to decode. Okay, it's very easy to decode where sometimes they will give marks for certain things. If it's a 5-mark question, okay, it will not be only final answer that is worth 5 marks, right? In between steps and stuff like that, there will also be marks allocated. So your job is, right, if you cannot get full 5 marks, right, freaking hell, get at least 2 or 3 marks out of it. Also not bad, right? Okay, so it's also about getting the maximum that you can, rather than leaving it empty. If you have questions that you really don't know how to do, rather than leaving it empty, really try your luck. Formulas, plug in certain things, you will really never know. Sometimes some inspiration hits you and you can solve the question. Okay, so this is something that I really will share with my students. Do that. Okay, it will really help. And sometimes that 1 mark, right, could be could distinct you from a A or a B. Okay, so every mark is important. So never leave any question unattempted. You must always do every single question. All right, so for those who have anxiety, this is a mini tip. In fact, I think this is a huge tip, I tell you. It helps so many of my students, especially. Okay, so I'm quite sure it will help you if you put it into practice. I am like so 100% confident. All right, so yes, that will be something good. Okay, yeah, Uncle Shake, correct. Writing it down, you will not forget. Okay, helps you to remember. You will not kanchong. Sometimes you remember the formula and then you kanchong, you suddenly forget. So it's so help yourself by doing simple habits like this. Okay, and you will realize that you will have enough time to do all those questions. Yeah. Okay, so anybody has any questions for me up to this point in time? I'm just keeping it to an hour because I do not want to take your precious time off your revision. Okay, and it's Saturday. I really appreciate you guys popping in and listening to me. I think I am so touched. All right. So while you are preparing for your exams, studying as well, also be mindful that you have to put away all distractions. Okay, right, so number 1 distraction is stay away from your bed. People who say, Sam, I can read on my bed. I tell you, I call it bullshit. Totally bullshit. Don't do that. Okay, yeah, so stay away from your bed, stay away from your phone, stay away from your computer. Okay, you have to have some discipline and then reward yourself. Okay, one thing about, I think, in our Asia context is that we don't celebrate little success and celebrate little wins. Okay, so if you are able to stay focused for 2 hours, finish a paper in 2 hours, give yourself a good half an hour break, like reward yourself with your favorite food, like an ice cream or something. All right, do that. All right, no one is like stopping you from rewarding yourself, really. Okay, so I really believe in that. Even though I work very hard with my students back then, we also enjoy. Okay, we also enjoy, like after exams, after every like mock paper, I will probably order pizza and things like that. Yeah, so I do that with my students last time. So yes, and I will encourage you to do that for yourself. Okay, put away distraction and of course celebrate small wins. Okay, so that so humans are like that. We need to motivate ourselves. Okay, everybody is motivated differently, so you need to encourage yourself because you cannot expect your parents to do that for you. They just won't. Okay, at most they say, oh, if you do well for your O levels or do well for your A levels, I'll bring you to this or buy you this, probably. But in between, that journey is quite dreadful. Very, very dreadful, right? So in between, you need to reward yourself. Okay, so yeah, Darren mentioned study 50 minutes and rest for 10 minutes. If it works for you, go ahead. Okay, so for any one of you, when you are studying, if you know that you study best with breaks, then do that. Like for myself, when I study, I don't do that because I know it will break my momentum. So usually I will go with my productive hours. If let's say morning is my very alert mode, right, I will really dedicate like 3 hours non-stop to just do questions. And I stay very, very focused. After that, right, I realized that after that 3 hours, I know it becomes my more relaxed, more chill already. I cannot have that kind of focus. Then I'll do something else. Okay, so it is according to you being very productive. I don't think this just applies to students, to be honest. It applies to anyone. Okay, so it is a skill. Okay, it's not just related to studying. In fact, when you are doing your work, okay, you need to know your productive time. Okay, you really need to. Okay, then that's when you can be happier, right? I mean, studying is supposed to be a little bit more fun. Studying for exams are definitely not fun. I swear to God, it's not fun at all. Okay, so you have to make it a little bit more bearable for yourself. Okay, so since you have to make it bearable for yourself, okay, do it during know your productive hours and then work according to that. Okay, at least it is not, you don't drag yourself to study. At least you know that, okay, I'm okay, I'm focused now, I can do this. Okay, likewise when you are working, it's the same concept but different context. Same concept, different context. Alright, so it is the same for exams, same formulas, different question, different approach. Okay, it will help you. So remember, don't leave any question undone. Always attempt all questions. Please always do that. Okay, do yourself justice. Don't do every questions that you can. Even just writing down the formula, plugging in some numbers, you'll be so surprised. Maybe you can get 2 marks out of 5 mark question. All right. Okay, so I have no idea why it's JLW and HLW. There is, okay, I have to admit that I'm not very good with acronyms, and the new acronyms is something that I have to Google every now and then. Should I Google this thing now? JLW and HLW. Is there such things? Y'all can help me out, you know. JLW. What is that? I have no clue. Okay, so Muhammad, right? Muhammad Wahid. Yeah, if you want to let me know what it means, you can I trouble you to type it out. Oh, you also don't know. Oh, hang. Okay, I feel alright. Okay, I feel so okay. Thank you. I'm not alone. Alright, so but I'm really open to learn. Okay, I think learning is always ongoing, so we always learn from each other. I hope I have given you some implementable tips, and I really want to wish all the students, or if you are parents with kids studying for exams right now and you happen to like swipe until here, I hope whatever that you manage to listen and take away is something that you can share with your kids as well. Nobody enjoys study. Let's just recall how we were studying for our own exam. It's not an easy process. Okay, so I think a little bit more compassion will be nice. A little bit more understanding will be nice as well. Alright, and for students, when you are studying, I know it is very stressful right now. Okay, but don't flare out. Okay, don't like pissed off and angry and then start throwing your tantrum everywhere. Okay, communication is important. If you really need your time alone, just let your parents know, you know, I really need my private time to study. Can you don't disturb me for the next 6 hours? Do that. Okay, communicate your intention so that they don't just come knocking at the door. Hey, boy, are you studying already? Boy, what you're doing? Girl, what are you doing? Okay, those things can be very irritating also. So when I communicate, you know, when I taught my students last time, this is what I asked them to do. Communicate with your parents. Dad, Mom, I'm going to study. I'm going to be like very focused. Please don't disturb me for the next 6 hours. Don't disturb me at all. And if you communicate that upfront, your parents usually will leave you alone. They probably only knock at your door when they want to ask you what you want to eat, right? Okay, so do that. Communicate. Communication is very important. You want to study well, right? You also need an environment to be able to study well. So when you talk about studying, it's really not just about like one thing and one dimension. When I talk about studying, it's all dimensions. So I manage parents as well when I used to teach last time. Okay, so parents who are tuning in, help your kids. Kids who are studying right now, students, also get your parents on board. Library works best for you. Good, then go to library then. Yeah, the only thing about library right now is like, oh my god, you have to wear the mask and okay, like a lot of people like to go library study. Yes, when I was doing my A-levels, I spent a lot of time in my school library. So I actually spent quite a lot. Yeah, it's good. But then if it works for you, then do that. Okay, totally do that. Yeah, but some people when they study outside, they tend to get distracted. Okay, so again, different folks, different strokes. There is no best way or worst way or whatsoever. If library works best for you, go to library. If cafe works best for you, go to the cafe. If home is the best, then home then. Okay, but don't be distracted, because some people I also know this, because teenager sometimes go library is also to look at people and okay, so must focus. Go library okay, go cafe okay, but must focus. Don't get distracted. Okay, alright, so that is also very important, right? Okay, anybody has any other things for me? Because I say I'm just going to use up an hour of your time, and it has been just right about an hour. No time. You cap some more. Are you sure you never look at people? Don't bullshit me, okay? I know, man. It's okay to look. Totally okay. Come on, I'm like, oh, I always have fun with my students last time. I actually do miss those times when I teach my students because they are so fun. We are like having so much fun. Yeah, so it's totally okay to look at people. I think that sometimes having like some like nice scenery, some eye candy, it's nice. Like it actually perks up your very boring studying time, isn't it? I think so, you know. Yeah, but see, okay, focus back to your papers. Do well. Okay, you must do well first. Do well, then part later. You got all the time. If you're doing A-levels, right? Okay, you have to go NS after that. So do you have to serve NS after that? I think so. Then you have all the time in the world to part all you want. Okay, so now study hard. All the best. So all the best to everyone who is studying right now and going for your exams. Wishing you the best of luck. Okay, may the force be with you. So cliche, but again, as I said, I know you guys are working super hard. Okay, do your very best, and I know you will do that. Okay, at the end of the day, embrace the outcome. Okay, so what you want to do is do what you can do now within the best of your ability, and after that, okay, enjoy and embrace the outcome. You know, this is not the end of your life. After O-levels, PSLE, A-levels, whatever you call it, it is not the end of your life. Okay, even if you do well, great. If you don't do as well as you wish, fine, move on. Okay, that is not the end of the world. There is so many opportunities out there. I do career coaching, so I have worked with people from all walks, different profession, and different age. All right, so academic success is important. Okay, it is a first step, but it is not the only step. Okay, and it is not the final step. Just be mindful. Alright, so I just want to wish all of y'all very, very well. Enjoy your journey. Okay, being a student sucks because you have exam, but being a student is also one of the best time you can have in your entire, when you start adulting, #adulting. Wow, you look back and say, I'd rather go back mugging. Okay, so all the best. Alright, I just want to wish you super much all the best. Again, it's not the end. It's just the beginning, right? So do well, enjoy. I think very important is you must enjoy what you're studying. And whatever tips that I've shared along today's session, right, go ahead and put it into practice because those things really work. Okay, it really does. So it has helped many students, and I hope it helped you. If you're a parent, I hope it helps your kid as well. And thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad it helped. Yes, yeah. So enjoy. Alright, so that is the end of my live session. Alright, so today is Saturday. I wish all of you have a good evening for the rest of the night and have a beautiful Sunday and an awesome week ahead. Ganbatte! Bye bye! And of course, please follow me. Okay, so I will do more career tips related because of my day work right now. So follow me for more career tips. Help me share my profile, help me push out the word. Okay, again, I'm Samantha. I'm a Singaporean. I'm currently based in Singapore, and I will help professionals to achieve career success in whatever they do. Alright, so tonight's session is definitely a little bit slightly different because I'm helping you to achieve your academic success. Okay, coming from a teaching background before, I'm engineer trained, but I taught for 10 years. Alright, so I hope all these things really help you. Alright, so if you have any other questions, you can DM me. Alright, I'm okay. I will definitely do my best to reply. Alright, let's stay connected. And yeah, all the best. Ta-ta! Good night. Alright, so I need to switch it off.